Welcome back to the shop today. Finally got some of the parts I've been waiting for forever. I'm going to show you what I picked out to boost this KA. On my way down to Chicago right now, visit a good friend of mine. Actually, the guy that I bought the Datsun from. He's got some other parts that I want to buy. So, headed down there, see what he's got. Hopefully we can't make a deal. Okay, made it to my friend Adair's place here in Chicago. This is the guy that I got the Datsun from. I actually kind of nicknamed him the Dot Father in this area. So this is his shop. I'll show you guys around a little bit and show you what we're here to grab. So everybody, this is my friend Adair. This is my source for Datsun parts that's a little bit closer than Ryan Hicks out in Ohio. So I'll give you guys a quick tour of his shop here, kind of show you a couple things he's working on. This is Adair's shop. This is his beautiful four-door that he's been working on for a while. You stripped this thing completely down?
Yeah, down to the metal.
So this thing was stripped down to bare metal and then he painted it?
Bare metal. Right now I'm just working on wheel wells, cleaning up. I just don't have the room anymore, but the wheel wells are getting done. I did the POR15 on it, little by little, chip away at it. These tires are so hard to find, so I was able to get 2 for now. I need another 2. And just chipping away, man.
Yeah.
It's mainly time.
This car is so unbelievably straight. Oh man, I absolutely love it. So then this one over here, this is his Datsun 210 wagon.
210, those yes.
This is freaking sick. This is the car that he was rolling around in when I came down here to get my Datsun. And this thing, oh man, this thing is done up just perfectly. So I'll show you guys what we are actually here to pick up. And not sure if you saw this, but it's this guy. That's right. I've been looking for turbo parts for the KA going in my Datsun for quite some time. And Adair messaged me and said, hey, I got this sitting around. So we went back and forth a little bit and made a deal. So I drove 3 hours down to Chicago today to come hang out with him for a little bit and pick this up. I want to go over all the turbo parts I picked out for the Datsun. Well, shoot. Looks like my tripod is now fixed permanently at extra medium height. The little clamp tab for this one telescoping leg broke off. So the first thing I have, and this is probably the heart of every single turbo setup, is the manifold. For months I went back and forth on exactly which one of these I wanted to use, and here's the one I ended up going with. This is an 11 gauge thick manifold from CXRacing. Without any further ado, here's what it looks like. Comes in decent expanding foam packaging. Looks like we do get a gasket too, and hardware. All right, there she is. So this is a top mount manifold. The reason I did that is because I'm going with a slightly larger turbo and I wanted an external wastegate. So I will show you guys what I actually got for turbo parts and stuff in just a second. These are like 385 bucks before shipping. I think it was like $400 with shipping. Now, I know a lot of people don't like these for whatever reason. As far as I'm concerned, I think this was the best manifold I could find for the best price that's going to hopefully work with my setup. All right, here it is. This is all the turbo parts that I just recently picked up for the Datsun. I was looking around for a turbo. I spent a lot of time going back and forth on what I was going to use. Here is everything that I got. Starting off, the turbo that I'm going to go with is a Garrett T3 TO4E 60 trim with a .63 AR exhaust housing. So this is a known standby turbo. It's journal bearing, so no water lines. This compressor housing and this compressor wheel, it should easily support the 300 horsepower to the wheels that I want to make with the Datsun. Next up, so for a blow-off valve, this is a Tile Sport blow-off valve. I think this is a 44 millimeter. I'd have to check the part number on that, but this is a V-band flange. I think it's a 44 millimeter V-band on this piece of intercooler tube. And then here is the matching Tile Sport wastegate. This is a 38 millimeter 2-bolt style, which actually works perfectly with the manifold that I got. This right here is a custom made 2.5 inch up to 3 inch stainless steel downpipe. I don't know if you guys can see that. I'll get a close up of this, but this is made by GL Fab, Guillermo. I'll put his information, his Instagram up on the video here. I'll also put a link up to Adair's Car Club down there in Chicago, Uprise. You guys may have seen the sticker on the front windshield of the Datsun here. This intercooler right here was fabricated for the Datsun for a different swap that was in the car, the Volvo B230 FT, something like that. So this intercooler was fabricated to fit up in the grill. A couple of things to note. The downpipe and the dump tube are all stainless. Now this is gonna have to be cut and modified to fit the Datsun. The charge piping is going to have to be modified a little bit too, just because I have very little room in the front. This intercooler, while it is sweet and it does fit the Datsun really well, I won't be able to use it because the end tanks are just a little bit too deep. Here's the fitment issue I was talking about. Looking straight down, this intercooler looks like it tucks in pretty nice, but in actuality, it sticks out from the upper core support here about 3/4 of an inch. I know it doesn't look like that on camera. The issue is between the water pump and the inside of the grill on this Datsun. I have like 6.5 inches of space. So it's going to be very challenging to fit this intercooler plus a radiator and a fan all without hitting the water pump. Seems we've encountered our first fitment issue. Wonderful. Looks like I've got some funky exhaust stud or something. I think one of the exhaust studs was bent because we lifted this engine by it. So that might be why. Throw a few nuts on here just to hold this in place. I really hope that that turbo is going to fit. These aren't even the right size nuts either. What the hell? Fine thread. Okay, all right, let's try these. Maybe these are better. All right, wrong again. How many wrong threads can I grab? So the original turbo manifold, the actual flange, the inlet flange for the compressor housing was centered something like this right here, lengthwise in the engine, which put the turbo in a decent place. Like the compressor side was just clearing this strut tower. The problem was going to be the downpipe. There was going to be very, very, very minimal clearance between the downpipe of the turbo and this brake master cylinder. So I contacted CXRacing, I took that manifold, boxed it back up and shipped it back out to California. I told them that I'd like to exchange it for the other manifold. The other turbo manifold moves the turbo up here, like just behind the distributor, somewhere up in here, and it turns it just a little bit further like that. Now what that allows me to do is it allows me to shoot this gap right here with the downpipe. This space up here in the front left of the car, I really don't care about. I should have plenty, and that turbo being a little bit further forward doesn't hurt anything else. However, the two problems that it solves, number one, it gives me more room to hit the downpipe, and number two, I may not have to fabricate a heat shield for the brakes. I have heard that with 240 guys, that they put those turbo manifolds, the top mounts especially, that the turbo gets a little bit too close to the brake master and you end up having problems with your braking after you run the car for a while. So it is currently Tuesday afternoon. The manifold that I sent out just got to California today. CXRacing has to inspect it, make sure everything's okay, and then send me the new one. I have to pay the difference between the two. Not a big deal. I think those manifolds are $100 different. So if you're like me and you're trying to save just a little bit of money trying to do this, go for the second option, which is like a $500 manifold, which moves the turbo a little bit further forward in the engine bay. So this is the part number right there. This is the part number of the turbo manifold from CXRacing. It's the thick one, and it also puts the turbo just a little bit further. So if you're wondering what part number that is, it's this one right here. I'll also put a couple of pictures of those two manifolds side by side, and I'll take two pictures of them on the car so that you can see the difference of where the turbo ends up sitting. The one thing I do like about the way CXRacing packs their manifolds, anyway, is that every manifold gets one of these expandable foam, whatever this is, packaging material. It seems like it's packaged really well. The last one I ordered from them showed up and it was in perfect condition, so this one looks the same. There goes the gasket. So, there's the manifold. The gasket right here. Fresh hardware right here. Quick story. I ordered the first manifold from CXRacing, took it out of the box, mocked it up, and it wasn't gonna fit my application. I sent the old one out and they got back to me right away and said, yep, we got your manifold, everything's good, we'll ship out the new one. And then I replied back to the email and I said, hey, I'm gonna do a video comparison on these two manifolds. Do you guys have any stickers? Well, check it out, right there. CXRacing is helping out a little bit here, so that's pretty cool. I've heard a lot of different things about CXRacing from all over the place, but a lot of people use their stuff on a lot of different cars. So clearly, this is a SEMA build or a PRI build or whatever, right? This thing is gonna win every single competition it's put into. It's flawless and there's nothing wrong with it. That's why I decided to save a few bucks and buy the CXRacing manifold. So anyway, let's look at this. All right, folks, there she is. So this thing looks and feels pretty good. It's quite a heavy manifold. This is the thicker one, so it has like 11 gauge wall piping. There's a support here and two more supports over here and one right here. So I think this is actually gonna work better for my setup. If you look at, like, here is the exhaust flange. It actually moves the turbo further forward. And it puts it at a different angle so that maybe I have a chance at getting a downpipe on this thing. So let's go mock it up. All right, here we go again. Attempt number 2 at this. Oh, sorry about that. I had to go re-up on my pretzels. All right, I'll slam a couple bolts on this real quick and we'll get the turbo mocked in there. So just to give you guys an idea of the fitment of this manifold to the engine bay. I'll see if I can get a nice top-down shot here too. Kind of hard to see on camera from here, but that is in the right place. So that's kind of where the turbo sits, or the turbo manifold sits. So for any of you Datsun 510 guys, this is how this manifold is going to fit. Now, the main concern that I think I'm going to have right off the bat is going to be this brake line right here. I made this, so I might just have to tweak it over just a little bit. But if you can see, here's the turbo flange. We are way further from the brake master, and we're pointed in such a way that a larger downpipe has almost a straight shot to dump right down between the manifold and the steering box. The moment we've been waiting for. Finally, the wild roaming snail gets put in its home, whatever. I caught a snail, I bolted it to the side of the engine, okay? Whatever. That's what I do with everything. It compensates for the fact that I really don't know what I'm doing. I just like the sounds that turbos make, so that pretty much makes up for all of the corners that I cut when I build the cars. Right? Maybe not, maybe it'll blow it up immediately, but it'll be fun while it lasts. That's sort of the plan. All right, I'm gonna get this mocked up quick and cut. I don't think you guys need to watch me put bolts in, do you? Unless I just have like a really sexy way of putting bolts in. Well, this one's gonna be freaking difficult now, isn't it? All right, so this is the Tile Sport wastegate, 38 millimeter, 2-bolt flange. This is very normal stuff. Not sure what the spring rate is on this. We're gonna find out. And you guys watch Project Farm. We're gonna test that. Right, you'll know what I'm talking about. So we're just gonna gently bend that brake line just enough to where it no longer offends anybody. Oh, it's gonna look awesome too. My goodness. So this is the new look and the new placement for the turbo. The turbo sits considerably lower, right? considerably lower. The cold side of the turbo does not actually stick up any higher than the oil fill cap. So any of you guys that might have been worried about hood clearance, this manifold will work better for you. It is just a smidge tight to the inner fender, but again, this was designed for a 240SX, so clock your compressor housing like that and move on. So here's a top-down view of how the turbo sits in the manifold, or sorry, in the engine bay. And then if you can see right down here, there is the wastegate. So this brake line right here was bent expertly out of the way, just so that the wastegate will fit. But there is plenty of room underneath the wastegate here to get the dump tube. And as far as I'm concerned, there's plenty of room now to shoot a downpipe literally right over the wastegate and down this perfectly spaced hole right here. I may have to remove the e-brake cable, I'm not sure. Looks like that is going to be in the way, so I'll solve that when we do the downpipe. But anyway, a couple of things I wanted to note on this manifold. So the other one would have worked fine. It just would have been kind of tight to the brake master cylinder bleeder ports right here. And this turbo originally has a 2.5-inch downpipe flange on it. The downpipe that I received, or that I purchased, made by Guillermo, GL Fab, he converted it to a 3-inch. And it's all stainless steel. I'd really like to use it because it's a really nice piece. So this manifold ends up working better because you get better angle from the turbo shooting down to this hole right here between the engine block and the steering box down there. And it's going to avoid the brake master as well. A couple other things to note on this manifold versus the other one that I'm seeing now. The fasteners are a little bit easier to access on this manifold than the other one. The other one, there was like a stud that was pretty darn tight to one of the tubes, so you had to put the manifold halfway on and then get the nut started. On this one, every single fastener, other than this stud that I'm missing right here, every single fastener is easy to get to. It's exposed, it's out in the open, so someone larger than a child can get their hands in there to actually put a nut on. Let's see, down here, if you can see down in here, here's the oil dipstick. I'm gonna have to do something a little bit fancy with this. I can turn it out of the way just enough, and I think that'll be enough clearance for me. I do just have to remake the bracket here to fasten it to the block. I don't think I'm gonna have any trouble with boost pipes or anything like that. I am gonna probably go with a micro squirt setup on this. I'm gonna redo my own wiring harness. So anyway, that is what the turbo looks like right there. So I think, yeah, this manifold I think is gonna work perfectly for my purposes. Overall, I'm actually really impressed with this manifold, believe it or not. I know that they have cheaper ones that are made with thinner wall stainless, but this thing actually seems to be pretty decent quality. The welds look good, at least by my standards, they look fine. They're not painted black, so the construction seems pretty solid. The flange is nice and flat. The manifold fit on the studs, no problem. Yeah, all the fasteners are easy to get to. The wastegate placement is really good, at least from what I can say, or from what I can see anyway. It looks like it's in a really good spot. Yeah, if you're a Datsun 510 KA swap dude, if you're doing anything like this, I would recommend this manifold over the other one, just because it gives you a little bit easier access for wastegate and downpipe. So with just some minor modification, I think you guys can see that this downpipe is going to work. I will probably have to, I think, cut it right here maybe, or whatever, to kind of shrink this length up just a little bit, because I don't have quite that much room. I may also be able to mess with that bend a little bit. This downpipe is going to work. It's just going to need a little bit of modification. I do have a friend that is a TIG welder. He's going to stick that back together for me. He doesn't know it yet, Justin. I'll be letting you know about that soon. So overall, very, very happy with the fitment of the CX manifold. I really think the build quality is there. For anybody looking to do a KA with a turbo, especially in a Datsun, that's a budget manifold, and it's pretty high quality, and I think it's going to work out well. Now that I've got the right turbo manifold on the car, I can get started on the hot side, the cold side. Except for the intercooler, I am going to have a little bit of a challenging fitment up there. That'll be a video in and of itself. CXRacing, I'm going to hit you guys up for your 2.5-inch intercooler. And by the way, thank you very much for the stickers. I really appreciate that. That's the closest thing to a sponsorship I've ever had. For any of you guys that have questions on the parts or the components I'm using on this kit, please leave those comments down below. I'll get back to you as soon as I can. One more thing, the merch store is now live. The link is on the main channel. I will also put it in the description of this video. And I have a parts fund. Now, that's just for any of you who are feeling generous and maybe you want to be a part of the crazy shit going on in this shop. There's no strings attached to that. You can or can't, doesn't matter to me. It's just there if anybody feels generous, not a big deal. For all of you watching, thank you so much. Tune in for the next one, and I will see you then.